Matt Arnold is going to be joining us, the Milwaukee Brewers head of baseball operations. Oh, what a head that is, too. Look at that thing, just monolithic.
It's not good.
Appreciate you joining us, Matt.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, too. The last time we saw each other, before I got fired from the Brewers, I'm sure that wasn't you. I'm sure that was Stearnsy. You guys had to go get Yasmani Grandal. That didn't work out well for you, but anyway, we
not bitter about it. But
no. Just remember, I take tickets. I keep receipts. We had a nice, enjoyable dinner. A couple different dinners in playoffs. Came up short against the Dodgers, but you got to go home. Well, Cali home, and now you're the head honcho. You're the big cheese of this Milwaukee Brewers playoff team juggernaut.
Well, also, can I piggyback off that? Because are you talking about the NLCS series,
Yeah.
Kratzy? Okay. So here's my thing, Matt. And hey, great to have you on. We appreciate it. You are the first, and we'll have them all over the next few months. First current GM to join us on FT Live, couple players per day. And it's been awesome to have many of your Brewers, and we can see why the team is thriving from a clubhouse chemistry perspective too, of course. A lot of great personalities. So that series against the Dodgers 2018, last time you guys won a playoff series, this team has been a consistent winner. It's not a super high payroll team. What's the secret to consistent success in Milwaukee? But also, how badly is your front office burning to keep advancing in a playoff series with that rotation and run prevention that you have set up this year?
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. I mean, look, I'm certainly thrilled to be a small part of this. I mean, we have a tremendous team of people here, and it starts with people. Honestly, I think that's the name of the game when it comes to success. And our ownership has supported our team, our front office, our coaching staff in a great way. And so, it started many years ago. Even before I got here, honestly. So we just have a really good group, a great culture. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it, and I think at this point, like you've talked about, we've made the playoffs here a number of years in a row, and I think we're looking to advance even deeper. Obviously missing last year was a tough situation for us, and I think it just galvanized us a little bit more even to want to get back there. And I know Kratzy was a big part of it for us back in 2018, and he knows what it's like, and we have a great culture, and we just want to build on that.
Matt, what is it? You kind of cut your teeth with a bunch of different organizations, but you really made hay with Tampa. What is it about Tampa? Because there's a million guys from Tampa that are now GMs and presidents and everything, and you look at them, they're a small market team that's had success. So what the heck do they teach in Tampa, and what do you share with other people about Tampa?
Yeah, I think it's probably similar to the stuff we have here. I mean, it starts with people, and it really does. And the good group we had there, starting with Andrew Friedman and Matt Silverman, and then, being in the same room with guys like Chaim Bloom and Eric Neander and James Click. And, we had Sam Fold as a player and Rocco Baldelli in our front office, and just a ton of really, really talented people. And I was just fortunate to be a small part of that as well. And just to learn from those guys is something I treasure. And the moments that we had, and a lot of celebrations, we had a lot of fun there, and that's what it's about. You love the game. We love to win and have fun and challenge each other, I think, in productive ways. And we've tried to do the same thing here in Milwaukee.
You guys have. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. It's that communication. It's the human aspect of it. Take us back to either that time when you were with the Rays, or all the way back to your first internship, whatever your job was with the Dodgers while you were still in school. Is this the job that you wanted? Were you like, man, I want to be head of baseball operations? Or did you say, oh yeah, I just want to be a GM? Or, oh, I want to, you fill in the blank?
No, honestly, not even close. I mean, honestly, I just love the game, and I just wanted to be a part of it, and worked my tail off, I think, like a lot of other guys, and just wanted to learn as much as I could and help contribute to a winning team. And good things happen, I think, when you put your nose to the grindstone and work hard and you care about other people, and I think that's really what's exciting for me about this group. We continued, I think, that momentum here, from Doug Melvin to David Stearns to myself. It's just having the right people around, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of this and be a part of a great winning culture.
So let's get to the trade deadline first off, and chafing for the bullpen, Carlos Santana and Mark Canha, who I'm sure you've heard many times about both of them. Those are pro ABs. You're seeing that. Canna's been better with the Brewers than he has with the Mets. Obviously, Santana for years has been a guy that is so difficult to get to extend his strike zone. How have those pickups looked for you, both in terms of what they're doing individually, but do you feel like from those hitters, there is a contagious component to watching those ABs for the young guys that you have?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think it starts with those guys, and I think that the way that they lengthen out our lineup, I think, is something that we were hoping to accomplish at the trade deadline, and those guys are experienced as well. I think adding a handful of veteran guys here that had experience in playoff environments, I think, is something that's incredibly important for us. To complement our young group, we do have a really young group here still. But also with a young group with experience, and so I think just adding those types of guys lengthen our lineup, and also, they're both good defenders as well, and that's kind of the brand that we have here. We play, it's more pitching and defense than anything else, and those guys add value with their bats, but they're also good defenders as well.
Wait, Scott forgot to mention somebody. There's a story out there that you guys had Pete Alonso on the hook.
Oh yeah,
but then something happened. So can you clarify this for us? Because I think Ken Rosenthal wrote about it. Something about the Brewers were close to obtaining Pete Alonso.
Or you could say it this way: they were looking into a lot of power for their lineup, because you can't say the player.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, you can. He can.
Yes.
Yeah, look, as far as obviously, individual conversations, we had a ton of conversations. And I think anytime somebody like Pete Alonso comes up, it's certainly somebody that would get our attention. But I would say we had a lot of different conversations at different levels. I can't speak to any specifically, but he's certainly a talented player, and he'd fit on just about any good team.
Spoken like a true Eric Kratz disciple right there.
Yeah, right. I would have just blurbed it. They would have fined me, fired me, whatever it was. I would have just said it out. Speaking of just saying how it is, what did you learn from the emotions of the players last year as you watched Josh Hader get traded away? Essentially, at this point in the season, it was a little bit earlier. What did you learn from that? And also, because we have Bernsey on here all the time, and he talked about how important it was that you had that conversation with him this year at the lunch table, post-game. You just popped a squat and, started chatting with these guys. Like, what did you learn from the Hader thing? And how did it translate into the whole Burns conversation you had this year?
Yeah, look, I think what the challenging part about our situation is that we're going to have to make unpopular decisions here, and that's something we have to be comfortable with. We made an uncomfortable decision there to trade Josh Hader. We thought it was the right thing to do. But I also, to your point, I think we learned a lot. I think how we could have communicated that better with our fans, how we could have communicated that better with our players. We were trying to do the right thing, and we're trying to win a championship here, though. And we're trying to do this, and keep it sustainable. And so we do have to make those tough decisions. But at the same time, that's why I want to try to connect with the players to the extent that I want to treat them like men. I want to let them know that we're here and that we're a resource for them. And so if they have questions, to please come ask. I want to make sure that we're available, because I'm not sure that every front office necessarily does that. And having those kind of relationships, whether it's Corbin, Josh, or, any of our young guys, I want them to feel like we can have those types of conversations going forward. And I think it's a really healthy thing so that we're honest with each other about where we are at any point.
Well, have you sat down with any of your potential guys? I mean, I have a Corbin Burns card right here. It sits here every day. It's my favorite player because he makes fun of Rowdy every time he comes on. But I mean, extensions for Burns, extensions for Woodruff. Why have you not released Rowdy yet? Because everyone hates him. And did you see his finger? But I mean, these are legitimate questions. Like, why have you not? Have you explored extensions, and are you going to with these guys? Because they're great pieces to have.
Yeah, look, I mean, you're right. I mean, those guys are certainly talented. Can't get into specifics as far as, certain contract negotiations at this point. But, I've seen Rowdy's finger. I can tell you that. It was pretty gross. I can confirm that was certainly pretty disgusting. But, as far as the other players go, they know, and we know, they're some of the best players in the world. I mean, we're talking about our number 1 and 2 starters here, and Willie Adames is among the best shortstops in baseball, and so these guys mean so much to our team and our franchise, and certainly we'd love to have them here a very long time.
So I know you can't take us through, say, the individual conversations with player, agency, et cetera, on the extension front. Can you take us behind the curtain on how those deals do get done, though? For example, Freddie Peralta, and that's worked out really well. Obviously, Freddie's always freaking smiling. He's been great for you guys. And how that comes about. Is it a conversation that starts with ownership and you go through a player and comps and everything else? Like, what can you tell us in terms of how you get to that actual deal period?
Yeah, it probably comes about in a ton of different ways. We're just having the communication, whether it's with the player, with the agent, with our ownership, trying to find common ground, I think is the important thing on those. And, obviously we want this to be a great place to play, and we've worked hard to establish that as a great place to play. And I'll let Eric speak to it, whether it is or isn't. But we're trying hard to make sure that it is, and that players want to play here for a long time. And so the deals come about more organically probably than anything else.
It is a great place to play. It's also a great place to manage. You have another free agent who, in not just my opinion, someone else's opinion, might be one of the biggest free agents outside of Ohtani if something doesn't get done. How is the organization handling this in the sense of, let's just give you a hypothetical. If he leaves because he wants to go and watch the boys play baseball in college, is Pat Murphy going to be your manager? Because if it is, he's going to be the ugliest manager you have it's like number 30, automatically ugliest. No, how do you guys handle something like this? Because I think a guy like Counts is he's one of 30. He's one of 30 managers that puts together a team that has a team be super successful that everybody outside of the Brewers organization thinks it's going to be a 500 team. And every year they're back in playoff contention or in the playoffs.
Yeah, Eric, I think you're exactly right. And I'd go a step further on to your point. It's really not just one of 30. I think Craig is one of one. He's so beloved here, I think, in our city and our community. And his dad worked for this franchise. He played here for a very long time. He worked in the front office here. He's been a great manager here and the best teammate I could ever hope for, honestly. And I love him to death. And so to your point, it's just whether he wants to be here and expand on the great work that he's done, or if he wants to go watch the boys play baseball and, be around the girls as they're growing up too. Like, he's earned that right, and I love him to death, and so I'm going to support him first and foremost ahead of the Brewers and everything else, just because I care about him a ton. So obviously, I'd love to work with him for a very long time.
How do you, since you have the GM talk down perfectly, president of baseball operations talk down to like a T, how do you keep from getting attached to these guys? Because I would think as a human being, aside from your job, you're with Counts every day, you're with these guys, a lot of the time. How do you keep from getting attached and letting personal attachments get in the way of what you need to do for the franchise?
Yeah, I think you're right, AJ. I mean, we certainly get attached. I mean, that's just reality. We're humans, we're not robots, and I care about all these guys. I mean, and it goes back not just when you sign a player, it's knowing these guys when they're internationally, at a very, very young age, or being in the room when you're drafting a player, and seeing them come up through our minor leagues and how they've grown. It's something that, honestly, you feel proud about it. It's just something you want to see everyone succeed. And I'm a big fan, just like everybody else. And I pull for these guys like crazy. I want them to have success here. So, I definitely care about the relationships that we have with our players, and that I hope that, they know that we're pulling for them as hard as anybody.
One more for you on Counts is, depending on what he wants to do for his personal life and fam life, that's one thing. Can you assure Brewers fans that if he wants to manage, it will be in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly our hope here. I mean, I haven't even, crossed the bridge about what it looks like without him, because I love him here to death, and I hope he's here a really long time. So, selfishly, I hope that, we can turn the page at some point when it's the appropriate time. But right now, we're focused on winning a championship, and he's the right leader for this team.
Matt, we talked about attachment to players. You have to go to arbitration with players, and it sucks. I went through arbitration. And I sat there, and the GM of the Giants at the time was across the table from me, 4 feet away. And you're sitting there and you're looking them straight in the eye. That has got to be the hardest part, right? For me as a player, it was like I had just gotten traded to the Giants, so I was like, I don't know these guys. It's not as big of a deal. But if I had come up through the organization, came up with the Twins, and I had Terry Ryan, I would have Terry Ryan sitting across the table from me, who drafted me at 17 and let me get to the big leagues, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you stink at this, and I'm like, well, I'm good at this, and I'm good at this, right? So that has to be a impossible situation, because then you leave the room and you're like, okay, I love you again, and the player's like, well, you didn't love me 30 seconds ago. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, I think honestly, it's a terrible process, but it is the process, and so I think both sides have to acknowledge that it's just not fun, and so, but it is what players and owners have agreed to, so we have to play within those rules and parameters. And so I hope that we can establish enough trust where that is just part of the business, but once that day passes and, the decision is made, that we're good to go, and it's not that easy, because to your point, like, we're humans, and, everybody, there's emotion baked into that. Like you said, you thought you were really good, and the team didn't think you were as good at that. And some of that is show, honestly, for that process and what that means. That's required, I think, by both sides, and so at the end of the day, hopefully we can have a productive discussion after, give each other a big hug and just turn the page and keep moving forward. I know it's not as easy as it is said. It really is a challenging part of the industry, for sure.
Should we change it? Because your former, I'm reading what your former job title was: player acquisition, contract negotiations, and player evaluations when you were with the Rays. Should we change it? And what would that process look like if we could change it to make it more, not friendly, but I mean, that's what we're talking about, because you've talked about, and I think this is what the Brewers do really well and the Rays did really well, the human side of things.
Yeah, I mean, look, an easy way probably, and again, I'm not smart enough to have the answer here, but I think there probably an easier way would have some kind of formula for it, and just that the players agreed to and said, hey, we're good with whatever metrics this needs to be measured on, and then the owners decided, hey, these are appropriate as well, and we just come up with it. It's very generic, and then we just turn the page, and then it's more wired than that. I think there are a lot of reasons why that doesn't currently exist. But I think that would probably be the cleanest if there was an easier way to do this.
Matt, where are you in Pittsburgh right now, or are you in Milwaukee?
I'm in Milwaukee.
Okay, because we always have a thing when people just have blank white walls. Mine, and blink twice if you're okay, because it looks like you're in an opposite situation.
No, I'm not in custody. I'm not in custody right now.
Okay.
I'm good.
Whenever we have people on that have the white wall, we're like, man, it looks like they're, please send it out.
We just like to make sure everyone's good.
Yeah, we want to make sure everybody's healthy.
AJ, for the people.
I need to get some art. Maybe I get like a Kratz jersey or something back here. I need something.
Ooh.
Kratz book?
You get a Kratz hat, it'll take up the whole wall.
A Kratz, that's what's covering the building he's in.
It's just a big fat head, maybe. Kratz, just a big.
That's the retractable roof. Question for you on the minor league side. This team has done a great job of building up the prospects and the talent that you have down in the system. More upside, more depth to it. And let's lead the way, the guy that most baseball fans know outside of Milwaukee, Jackson Chourio. There's a Jackson race going on right now. There's a few. It's a big name. It's a very buzzy name in baseball. But I like to do the comp of Jackson Holiday and Jackson Chourio. They are a few months apart. So Holiday just got promoted to AAA. Will you match the Orioles suit?
Yeah, we've seen both Jacksons and we like them both. Our guy's great. I mean, I don't want to speak for the other one, but Jackson Chourio is tremendous, and he's I mean, for a 19-year-old kid and what he's doing in AA is so impressive. And just he's put himself on the radar in every way, and he's such a talented kid. He's 5 tools. Does everything well, and he's good in the spotlight too. You can just tell this kid really likes it and loves the game, and we're excited about his future.
So
you're calling him up into the minor league season?
well, my question would be, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
he's going to say he's not on the roster. We don't want to lose the roster. Here,
No,
go
I
ahead.
don't think he's going to say that.
I'll fill in all
I don't
the
think they
blanks.
care about the roster spot to get Jackson Churro up if he's good to go, right?
Yeah, he's on the radar. I mean, and in a good way. I mean, he's put himself on the map, I think, and he's a super talented guy that has all of our attention.
What do you think about teams calling up their players, sooner than ever? There's not exact data to this, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, there are guys that are 19, 20 years old, and some of them come up and they thrive from the jump. Others don't. And, our mostly player-run show here likes to go through how some players can overcome some early adversity, and sometimes teams are like, I'd rather make sure that he's really in a good spot before I bring him up because I don't want him to be sent back down. How do you balance that with someone like Jackson and just anybody that you're bringing up that's got high potential? That do you worry, if he struggles for a couple weeks, and we end up sending him down again, it could crush him?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we certainly don't have a formula for that, and it goes probably player to player. I mean, the one thing I'd say is that, we've tried to be aggressive with young players. When we had Mitchell here, who unfortunately got hurt, but Joey Weimer, Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, we've pushed a lot of guys here that are young to the big leagues, very soon, and we think it is a good challenge for them. At the same time, we've also had to option really good players, going back to guys like Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, and had that same conversation with Bryce Terang this year when we optioned him. It's like, look, you came here and look, there's more to work on, and that you're not the first great player to be optioned, and we've optioned other great players, and it is the good ones, respond. And honestly, that's the thing that, they're probably going to be upset, and anybody that happened to be optioned, you probably don't want them around. And it's really a credit to those guys to bounce back, learn from it, grow, and then come out better on the other side.
Have you ever asked Mark A for more money? Mark Antanasio, the owner? Have you been like, I know this is our budget. Can I get just a little bit more? And I know you're kind of new at the whole position, but just a little bit more?
All the time. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, but look, he responds, I think, and he helped us. I mean, I think we don't get the guys we got at the trade deadline without his support. We don't go above and beyond, on the draft without his support, and I think to have some sustainability, you have to have great ownership, and we certainly have that here in Milwaukee.
Matt, I want to ask you about the catching machine that you have, and if Eric Kratz had anything to do with the fact that...
No, they shit canned Eric Kratz as soon as they could, so apparently he wasn't involved and he didn't get all the secrets.
That was a long time ago, though. But you bring a guy over, and Matt, to me, it's getting like ridiculous because you guys have such an edge in that department, and we've spoken to other Brewers about this, where it doesn't even take long. The transformation happens so quickly. Say with someone like William Contreras, who comes up last year, rookie, he's really young, he's learning the position. I'm sure you could see some of those signs of improvement back then, but immediately comes to your squad and he's like one of the best framers and receivers in the game. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a combination of the player themselves and then our coaches as well. I mean, I think, Kratzy was probably the OG receiver back there. He's one of the best there was way back, even before there were the early metrics. This guy showed up at the top of the charts, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, he really did. And it starts with recognizing, I think, the value of what catchers bring on a day-to-day basis. And it's not just what they do as far as receiving, catch and throw. It's also how you call a game, and learning that side of the game. And it's really complicated. And it's something that, again, it's just hard to measure that type of person. And, going back to Kratzy and everybody else here, those guys have just had those ingredients. And if they haven't, we've tried to just instill those through coaching and good training to the extent that we can provide those avenues for those guys to improve. You
made me blush. All right. So we're going to...
He's making you money, Kratzy.
Yeah. He made me money because he brought me up to the big leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to catch the ball. So... I appreciate that. I know it was all Matt, so that's where we're going to leave it. It's not even a compliment. We all. This is such a random question. I wrote it down, but we have a GM on here now, and we always say this. Are GMs afraid of trading within the division?
Absolutely not. I think maybe some are, but I think, at least for me, I think it's a good opportunity. Like if if we're in the right situation, I think, if it helps both sides, then great, and we have good relationships within the division. And so we'd have no issues trading in the division at all.
So why didn't you trade for Nolan Arenado?
Corbin Burns told him not to.
Oh, Corbin Burns said no, damn it.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
He's a great player.
All right, so let's finish with this on the personal side, because we do like to do this too, of course, right? Loose combos. For you, Matt, and I know what the position's like, not personally, but hearing from guys, right? It's a 25-hour-a-day job. What do you do if you need to unwind, kick back? You're watching, another sport for a few hours. Do you have a certain hobby that you like to go to in, say, the off season, if you don't have to be at the office all night? What's one thing that we might not know about you that you really enjoy?
Man, I don't have a ton of hobbies. I'm pretty boring, honestly. Like I like baseball, and I like trying to find different ways to get better. And so I'm usually reading about it or doing something, to help, think about what the future of the team looks like or something. So, when I'm not around, honestly, if I'm not completely plugged in, I'm usually spending time with my kids. If I can, that's the biggest thing in my life right now, is just making sure that I'm around for them as much as I possibly can.
So it's December 10th. You can't sleep. It's like 11 o'clock. Will you watch a certain show? Will you read a certain book? Like,
have you read this book, and did it teach you anything, or did it make you lose all interest in baseball?
I'll read it. The Tao of the Backup Catcher, Playing Baseball for the Love of the Game, by Tim Brown with Eric Kratz.
I've heard about this. So I'm more of a podcast guy, so I can listen to things and still be moving around. And so that is on my list. I would love to get a copy of that. I don't know if you know anybody who could do that, but
yeah, we could. And also there is the audio.
Pay for it, trust me.
The audio
will make you pay for it.
Yeah, making me pay for it because the Brewers fired me. If I could have stayed in the big leagues.
All right.
But it's part of the book.
Send me your Venmo, buddy.
I love it. Well, Matt, it was really a pleasure talking to you. Really good to get a little more info on the squad and yourself. And thanks for making some history with us on FT Live. We'll bother the rest of your colleagues around the league coming up in the offseason especially.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.